Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Today we're diving into a company that's decided to hit the off switch on a major financial agreement, and let's just say it's a pretty quiet exit. So Venture Lending and Leasing Ix Inc. is filing a current report, and the big news is that they've decided to end a big borrowing arrangement. Think of it like closing out a massive credit card account, but for a business. This company, Venture Lending and Leasing Ix Inc., or the fund as they call it, had a big loan in place. It started way back in 2018, and it was a revolving loan facility. Now, a revolving loan is like a credit line you can borrow from, pay back, and then borrow from again. It's designed to be flexible for a company's changing needs. This initial loan was for a whopping $200 million, and it had a group of banks, a syndicate, providing the money. We're talking big names like MUFG, Union Bank, Wells Fargo, and ING Capital, along with several others. It was secured, meaning the lenders had some claim on company assets if things went wrong. Then, a few years later, in 2021, they actually made the deal even bigger, increasing the total borrowing limit to $350 million. They also extended the time they had to pay it back and updated some rules for how interest rates would be decided, especially as things like LIBOR, a common interest rate benchmark, started changing. They did it again in 2022, bumping the facility size up to $400 million. This time, they also switched the interest rate benchmark from LIBOR to SOFR, which is the secured overnight financing rate. This was a pretty big deal because LIBOR was phasing out. They even moved a huge chunk of their existing debt, $270 million, over to this new SOFR rate. But then things started to change. In late 2023, they had another amendment. This one actually decreased the total borrowing amount down to $185 million. And get this, they agreed to a plan to reduce their borrowing commitment by 10% every 3 months. On top of that, they agreed to pay higher interest rates on the money they borrowed and extended the deadline for the loan to March 2026. Over the past couple of years, from 2023 up until now in 2025, the fund had been steadily reducing how much they could borrow. They did this as part of their normal business operations, basically to match how much cash they actually needed to have available to operate. And that brings us to the main event, September 8th, 2025. On this specific date, the fund paid off the last bit of debt they owed, which was $6.5 million. With that final payment, they told all the banks involved that they were cancelling their borrowing ability completely, bringing their total available credit to zero. So this big loan facility is officially done. Now, what does this actually mean? Well, ending a credit facility isn't necessarily a bad thing. It can mean a company is financially strong enough not to need that much borrowing power anymore. They've paid off their debts and are walking away. Venture, Lending and Leasing Ix Inc. might be in a position where their projects are generating enough cash flow, or they've raised capital in other ways, so they simply don't need access to that massive credit line. It's like someone deciding they've saved enough and don't need to keep a credit card with a giant limit anymore. However, the fact that they progressively reduced the facility and then ultimately zeroed it out could also signal a change in their business strategy, or perhaps a winding down of certain operations that relied on heavy leverage. Without more information, it's hard to say definitively, but closing out a $400 million credit facility is a significant move. The filing is signed by their Chief Financial Officer, Jared Esther. It's standard practice, but it confirms the company is officially making this change. So, what's my take on this? Venture Lending and Leasing Ix Inc. is effectively closing the chapter on a significant source of financing. On the surface, it looks like financial prudence, a company managing its obligations and deciding it no longer needs the flexibility of such a large credit line. This shows good financial discipline, especially if their operations are performing well and don't require this kind of external funding. They've exited this agreement cleanly, having paid off what they owed. However, a more cautious view might consider if this is a sign of them shrinking their overall business or pivoting to a less capital-intensive model. The gradual reduction in borrowing limits and the eventual payoff suggest a deliberate move away from relying on this specific financing tool. It's important to watch if they are deploying that capital elsewhere effectively, or if this is a precursor to a broader strategic shift. For now, the immediate takeaway is that they've successfully unwound a major debt facility, which in isolation is a positive sign of controlled financial management. Alright, that's our breakdown of Venture Lending and Leasing Ix decision to terminate their credit facility. What's your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Did they just get really good at managing their money, or is something else going on? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps us out, and subscribe for more deep dives into corporate filings. Don't forget to check out our Discord community in the description for more discussions and insights. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.